Well, hello and thank you for joining me for another Alex on Tech and ITY TV interview. Today I'm joined by Mark Gorrie. He's the Managing Director, Asia Pacific of NortonLifeLock. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Alex, thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking the time. Now, NortonLifeLock recently launched the latest version of Norton 360 called Norton 360 Advanced, which for the first time includes the type of heightened identity theft protection and recovery services available with NortonLifeLock in the US, along with up to 58,000 Australian dollars in insurance. So can you please tell me about the new version, its new capabilities, and also break down the insurance for us?
Look, Norton 360 Advanced, it is the next stage of our, let's call it our cyber safety offerings that we're bringing to market. And it really is bringing that additional identity theft protection services into the product now. Identity crime is a big issue here, it has been growing. And so that is obviously the next thing that we're really trying to help consumers help solve those problems. So we've incorporated more of those truly identity services. Some years ago, we made a big acquisition around in this space, which was LifeLock, hence the name we're now called NortonLifeLock these days, which is purely around identity theft protection. So we're bringing those capabilities into the product now. So what you're looking to get with Norton 360 Advanced is everything you know about Norton 360, in terms of device protection, VPN, parental controls, all this kind of
Backup.
Yep, backup. There's multiple features in there. It's really comprehensive. What you're getting now is, yes, the expanded identity, which is the dark web monitoring, the social media monitoring, so we can keep an eye on your social media accounts, the restoration. Now, this is a really key feature. If you suffer identity theft, most consumers have absolutely no idea what to do or where to go to help them out with identity theft. So we offer a dedicated restoration agents that this is all that they do. They just help solve identity theft and make sure that you can recover from that. And when all else fails, there is a catch-all at the end to help protect against financial loss, and that's an insurance component. And that's really just reimbursing in case you have costs. In terms of what kind of protection you get with that, there is a legal cost component of $25,000. So if you have to get legal help to help resolve the problems, we got some coverage for that. Obligation to pay is another element. And what that is if someone's taken out like a credit card in your name, set up a loan in your name, that you can't get reimbursed in any way, that you have coverage for obviously the costs that incurred, because obviously if it's done in your identity, people are going to come chasing you to get those loans paid off. So you get $25,000 for that. There's a $3,000 lost income. So if you have to take time out from work or your business to help go through the process of recovery, there's some coverage there, and a $5,000 miscellaneous for all other expenses associated with identity theft that you've incurred in the process.
Yeah, and that is with the same person who's going to guide you through and help you to call banks and government departments if necessary as well.
Yeah, look, the restoration process is really involved. So you get allocated a dedicated agent. That will be the same agent you work through the whole process. Now, in some cases, these can go on for months because they will work with you. They'll even assist you on calls that you need to make to help out with the process. So they'll handhold you through that whole process because, it's a bad process to go through. So you've now got someone to work with, a dedicated person that will be with you. And if what we've seen in the US in particular is, unfortunately, a lot of people who suffer identity theft, because their data's out there, quite often it does happen again. It's just a reality because your identity, your name, address, your date of birth, these things, don't change. And so the details remain the same. That's why identity theft can go on for years. If you've worked with one of our agents and you suffer another bout of identity theft, you would actually go back and work with the same agent again. They know your case, and so they can help you, if it does happen again.
Sure. Now, for those, it's a game changer.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Now, for those who are already Norton 360 customers, which version is eligible for a free update? And for those who aren't on eligible update versions, can they pay for an upgrade?
With Norton 360 Advanced, it is very new, and there's a lot more feature and a lot more. The restoration is obviously much more people-related cost. So there is a paid, you can do a paid upgrade into that service if you really want those identity protection. We obviously do some other upgrades. It's more in terms of helping people up in technology. It's more the antivirus into a Norton 360 standard. So that's where we give people the opportunity to get more advanced features in their offerings. Yeah, but at the moment, Norton 360 Advanced, just because of obviously we have much more cost associated with delivering this, it is a paid upgrade.
Sure. Now, there's also the extremely handy feature that lets you see which apps have gone out of date. Norton 360 Advanced can update them for you. So is this updating automated? Is it manual? How do people do it?
Yeah, this is actually a great new feature. We haven't really made a lot of noise about it, but yeah, updating your apps is just one of those important things you do. Like whenever we're talking about online hygiene, you make sure you have good online hygiene. Updating devices and apps is always one of those things that we really promote. Now we're actually brought that capability into Norton 360. So we'll actually scan all the software that you've got on your device and tell you what's out of date and what needs updating. Because obviously a lot of vulnerabilities, pop up within different applications. And so we don't want to be that an avenue for a cyber criminal to use to get into your devices and steal information. So updating those, devices, apps is critical. So yeah, it is part of Norton 360 now. There is an option. So there's a toggle switch if you want the auto update to work, or it'll just display what is out of date, what needs updating, and you can choose what you want to update. So it's totally your choice.
Sure. And is it PC only, or is it available for Mac? And I ask because Zoom has come into the news in the past few days because Patrick Wardle, who's a security researcher, was at one of those pwn-to-own type conferences, and he discovered a way that hackers could use the installer to get root access and install anything, and Zoom fixed part of it, and then they didn't fix the other part, and they just come out with an update as we were recording to close that security hole. So is this on Macs, and if it's not, is it coming?
Right now, it is PC only. I don't have a date or when it's going to come on the roadmap there. Obviously, this is it. Like I say, in terms of good online hygiene, it's good that people do this. So where we can, but currently, right now, it's PC only.
Sure. Oh, well, hopefully you've got the engineers working hard on figuring out how to do it for Macs too, because they have just as many, it's out-of-date programs and same sort of issues. Yeah. Now, you also recently released a report titled 2022 Norton Cyber Safety Insights Report, a special release, Home and Family. So what are some of the headline findings of this report? And obviously, we need to discuss them in a pandemic-accelerated age of digital transformation and ever more sophisticated children and devices.
Yeah. Look, what come out in this is one that we do regularly each year, and it's really just to test the market, how parents feel about what the kids are doing. It's fairly consistent each year. And if anything, I think what's happened in the last couple of years with this acceleration of digital transformation, it's more complicated now. Obviously, kids are using more devices, more time online. So parents are concerned about this. Most parents feel that, they don't really have a good grasp of what their kids are doing online. And one thing that really come out in the research is the concern about that. Are their children the gateway for cyber criminals now? Mm-hmm. Because what they're seeing is that kids are making unauthorized purchases online. Obviously, gaming is such a big thing, so they want to try and purchase things. They're sharing a lot more information. They're posting, obviously a lot more on social, and these are potentially a gateway into the home, the family, to expose, to cyber criminal activity. And so that come out big in terms of concern. Obviously, just screen time usage as again popped up as a problem area. Parents are concerned about that. The kids are just getting so used to their devices, and they're just concerned about what they are doing. In a lot of cases, kids are far more tech savvy than their parents, and so it is difficult for parents. There's no doubt, and that definitely comes out in the research.
Sure. Well, I'll link to that particular report and people can read it for themselves. But you also released, as we're recording this interview this morning, the latest Consumer Cyber Safety Pulse report. So that had some very interesting findings as well. So what are some of those? And again, I'll link to this in the article that accompanies this video.
Yeah, look, what Pulse Report's about is just giving a gauge of the level of activity that we're seeing. This is very much local data. So the data that we release here is Australia data, so that, we can see how much activity that we're seeing within our existing Norton base. Because, with security, a lot of it's about it's almost like a community watch, that, activity that we see within the existing user base helps us, because the more that we see, the more we know, the more we can help people be safe online. What we see, like within our Norton base here, we typically, when you compare the last 2 quarters, we're typically seeing 350 to 400,000 attacks that we block every single day here in Australia. So it just gives you an idea of the level of activity that's going on. Going back to the March quarter, it was definitely over 400,000 a day. We saw a little drop off in the June quarter. I put a lot of that down to, I'm sure most people have seen the flu bot, the SMS scams, people getting these text messages.
I got one just today that says you won. Click here to find out what it is, and it's like tiny URL dot something, and it's like, the O in the you've won is a 0, not an O. I mean, what kind of fools do these people take us for? Obviously, they get success because they keep sending them.
Yeah, it works, unfortunately. During the June quarter, we saw the main flu bot, that attack that had been circulating for quite a while. It was really heavily the last couple of years. Everyone saw those fake delivery messages. Well, people are at home. So it really caught a lot of people out. There was a takedown of a lot of that infrastructure during the June quarter. So for a while, I'm sure people saw a drop-off in activity, but it just reemerges again. So we've started to see more of the SMS scams popping up again. So it's really just what's happening in the market. But it's fairly, like I say, fairly consistent what we see overall. So upwards of about 400,000 attacks every day that we have to block. And a lot of it's just scam related activity. Scams are just out of control and people are targeted nonstop. And it keeps coming because people are caught out, people are losing money. The Scam Watch data that's reported by the ACCC has shown the problem of scams continues to grow. And so, we see that as well.
Absolutely. Now, you did cover this very briefly before, but what are the child safety features, the protection features for children that parents can take advantage of in Norton 360 Advanced?
Yeah, obviously we've still got Norton Family, which is our parental control. So this is the content filtering, the time management. One really good feature, which was really important, especially during lockdowns, was this school time, being able to allow access to school required apps and features and locking out everything else. So there's some really good parental controls features in there. Beyond that, obviously gaming has become so big, and what we're seeing is, gaming accounts are really valuable. A lot of people invest heavily in their gaming accounts, like with kids as well. So in terms of our dark web monitoring, our gamer tag monitoring has actually become, those that are using dark web monitoring or adding more areas for us to monitor gamer tags are a big thing. And with the new release of Norton 360 Advanced and the inclusion of social media monitoring, so parents can actually use their kids' social accounts if they choose to, as opposed to their own, so they can keep an eye on the activity on the account. Obviously, the big thing with those accounts is account takeover. So someone, hacking in and changing the details, it's looking for malicious links or bad content within posts, even things like profanity in the posts that are appearing in there. So there are some of the features that parents can use for their kids.
And just to go from kids to the other end of the scale, what is NortonLifeLock doing to help seniors get a handle on their cyber and identity security? I mean, obviously, all of those identity theft protections are going to be extra valuable to them, but are you doing any sort of separate online webinars or presentations at seniors' computer clubs or user groups, etc.? How are you connecting with them?
Yeah, look, it's a good point. And unfortunately, the elderly, the seniors in the population definitely show up quite heavily in a lot of scam activity that we see. So, unfortunately, heavily targeted. So they do need help. We do post a lot of information online. We have a lot of blogs on topical areas about where there's a lot of increased threat activity and what people should be doing to be looking out for these. especially around scams and the kind of scams that we're seeing and what they should be doing and not clicking in. Because yeah, unfortunately, a lot of it's social engineering. Make it that convincing to people to click on that link, to click on that attachment in that email, and unfortunately, a lot of people get caught out. So we do try and share a lot of that equally, for the seniors as well. As you know, we do contribute to the PC user group. Occasionally we have an opportunity to share some information on what's going on, which is great because we do love to connect. It's an important group. The seniors they need help. We want to help, and so we do as much as we can there.
Yeah. I mean, I just have been reading about and seeing people getting caught by that "Hi Mum" WhatsApp scam, where they pretend to be your child, and it seems to be so easy to convince somebody that this is your oldest child, the one you love the most, and somehow that's enough to convince people that their son or daughter has got a new phone, lost their number, and urgently needs several $1,000s.
Yeah.
So
no, it happens way too often.
Yeah. So what else should we know about Norton 360 Advanced, or just NortonLifeLock that we haven't already discussed?
Like I say, this is really the most comprehensive offering in terms of cybersecurity. So obviously the other key features which are really critical now, VPN. VPN usage has definitely increased. We're seeing people use a lot more, and they should be, especially if they're connecting on open
public Wi-Fi
networks,
at shopping centers and stuff.
Yep. So it's important to use. So VPN is an important one. Password manager. Passwords are critical. You don't want to be using those same passwords on multiple accounts, and we need to make sure they're complex. So having a password manager is key. You mentioned it as well before, online backup. It's just another layer of protection from the likes of ransomware, so that we give people the option to securely back up, a remote copy of the most important information. Safe cam's another one. Obviously, we're doing an interview here using our, the cam on the PC. So it's the safe cam to keep an eye on what's trying to access your camera on your device. So yeah, there's some of the other features that are really important. But I think what we want to call out here is these new features, especially with privacy identity now. It's it's evolving beyond the device now. So most people think about like antivirus for their PC, but this is really about you yourself, your digital identity online is so valuable and what people are after. So yeah, it's very much about you now, and your digital life is where the technology is moving to.
So with NortonLifeLock in the US having, I think, still a few extra identity protection features than we've seen in Australia, although it's fantastic to see these new LifeLock features arrive in Australia, because I've been asking you about it for the past few years, and obviously it took time to get ready. But how do you see NortonLifeLock evolving in Australia and in the US over the next couple of years?
Definitely, like the expansion of these cyber safety offerings. So big focus around privacy identity will definitely continue. Identity will evolve. Obviously, as you mentioned, LifeLock is quite big, and there's a lot more that's on offer in the US. So as the need evolves here as well, we'll look to obviously bring those features out. We don't want to overload people right now, because some things aren't as relevant here. So it's really making sure that it fits the markets, fits the need. So we'll continue to focus on that. Look, a lot's going to happen in the business in the next couple of years. Like I say, it just continues to evolve. The big thing that's happening now, some people may have seen in the news that the UK regulator actually gave us provisional approval for the acquisition of Avast, or the merger with Avast. Obviously that's going to bring some new technology. They've got some really good privacy capability, and like I say, one of the real benefits around security in this space is the level of threat telemetry that you can see. Like I say, the more you see, the more you know, the more you can do, essentially. So again, in terms of our capacity, with threat telemetry, is really going to accelerate even further again. So that insight is going to be incredibly useful for us, and it's only going to make things better.
Sure. And then I always like to ask about the 2030s. when the metaverse should be commonplace, and so should AR and mixed reality and extended reality glasses. They should be as commonplace as the smartphones, tablets, and PCs are today. So how do you think Norton LifeLock might be protecting the world when we're all looking through, these glasses either at the metaverse or augmented reality with information overlaid on real reality? I mean, imagine if I was going to a party or something and I was relying upon, my LinkedIn to tell me who all these people were, and somebody was hacking in and giving me all the wrong information. You'd look like an idiot calling people by the wrong name or whatever. I mean, you can imagine all sorts of weird hacks that the bad guys will think up to ruin our augmented reality experience.
Yeah, look, obviously things will evolve. We obviously want to evolve with it, and that's what we'll continue to focus on. Our Norton Labs is where they're really focusing on what's next, what should we be focusing on. They really focus on the innovation. So, that's what they do. Again, we're 100% focused on, consumer cyber safety. And so where we need to evolve to is what we will continue to work on to ensure that we can protect consumers and their digital lives. And their digital lives are going to evolve into new universes. And so if that's where the problems will exist, that's where we need to evolve to. And we will, because we truly want to protect our consumers, and their digital lives. And so if that's where we need to go, that's where we'll be.
Wonderful. Well, look, as we get towards the end of the interview, I always like to ask if you could please share a memory of your first computer.
Yeah, actually, quite early on, it was the Tandy. I think it was called a TRS-80.
Yeah. The old Trash 80.
It was like a 16K, capability. So it was very basic, but it was an introductory, to basic, programming. So it was interesting to learn, but obviously comparing it to now, like, it had absolutely no capability whatsoever.
It's almost like going from an analog mobile phone to the beautiful smartphones we have today, or the virtual reality headsets that do already exist today. It's a chalk and cheese.
Yeah. Sure is.
And what's the memory that you can share of the first time you ever encountered a virus?
It's interesting. Actually, the example I'll give you is the first year I joined it was Symantec, obviously back then. It was in our Sydney research lab. So the research lab that was in our office in Sydney, they discovered the bugbear virus.
Right. I don't remember that.
I was about 6 months into the business, and it was actually discovered in the Sydney office. And so it's like, wow, they actually found something circulating in the wild. Look, it ended up being quite big, and I remember there was multiple variants of it. So it did sort of circulate around for a few years after that. But obviously, the bigger ones, the Code Reds and that, which had been just before that. But the reason that one stood out for me was it was actually discovered in the Sydney research labs.
Well, there you go. I remember the first time I encountered a virus was I went to a friend's place. We were playing on their PC. It was all 5.25-inch floppy disk back then. And somehow one of the disks had the Stone virus on it, and it wiped that person's computer. And I mean, it didn't take much to rebuild it because it was, DOS wasn't there weren't too many things, but we had to reload DOS and reload, I think, onto their hard disk. I think they had quite a fancy computer at the time with like a 5 or 10 meg hard disk or something. But that was the first time, and it was quite a surprise because I'd never seen it before. But yes, it's only gotten a lot worse since then, sadly. Yeah. So my second last question is simply to ask if you could please share some of the best advice you've ever received in life to help you get where you are today.
Look, I think one of the big things for me is you got to love what you do. I think that's key. Like, otherwise, especially when it's to do with work and business, you got to love what you do. Otherwise, it becomes a chore. And, I've been in the business 20 years now. And, for me, tech's always been interesting. Love that. But I love the fact that we help people. And so that love of, being able to be in tech, but truly help people, protect them from criminals. Is a really powerful thing. So that's what obviously motivates me, keeps me going. So I think, love what you do is critical, especially if I'm hiring people in the business. Passion for the business and what we do is very important for me.
Yeah, I remember once knowing somebody that knew a gangster from Melbourne. And when this gangster found out that I knew, computer stuff, he said, computer stuff, can we use your services? And I said, no. I said, I help to protect people against people like you. And luckily I'm still alive. But it was one of those funny things, So my final question to you is, what is your final message to IT Wire viewers and readers, and to your current and future customers and partners?
Look, I would say for everyone, and this truly goes for everyone, is focus on your good digital hygiene. You don't want to be the next cybercrime statistic. Unfortunately, it's far too many.
Or scam statistic.
Yeah, because, we see a lot here, and we get heavily targeted because so many people get hit and lose money and lose their identity. So it's a big problem. And so, just continue to focus on, those good practices. If they do that well, it'll help a lot. And really think about not just so much your device, but you and what you do and who you're sharing your information with, who's got access to that. And when you really think about where your information is out there, it's a much bigger issue than just your device. So really think about your digital self and not so much your device. And, obviously that's what we're trying to solve for now.
Yeah, well, I've received the dark web alerts from NortonLifeLock, telling me about various password breaches that have appeared on the dark web. So that sort of information wasn't available before. It is available now. I think it may have been around in a slightly earlier version of Norton 360, but it's more important than ever. And congratulations, and keep up the good work.
Right. Thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.